Welcome to our first video. I remember I was pushing a trolley around, one of those trolleys that had a flat top, and there was a little girl that I know about 8 and she came running over and she climbed onto the trolley. I said to her mom, I said, "Are you happy if I push her over there?" And her mom said, "Yeah." And then all of a sudden, about 10 to 15 kids just went whoo, and they were all just flocking to try and get on this trolley. I could hardly push it anymore. It was so many kids on the trolley that one of the dads even came out and took a photo of it. And when I think about these numbers flocking in, it reminds me of the early church in Acts. And it says here, I've got a Bible verse here. It says in Acts 6 verse 7, it says, "So the word of God spread. The number of disciples increased rapidly." The disciples increased so rapidly that in one day they got 1,000 people added to their number. But why was it so quickly? How was the church growing that quickly? There's a man by Rodney Stark, and I have a quote here of what he says, and this is why he says they grew so quickly. He says, "They grew because of their care for the sick, widows, and orphans, their welcoming of strangers, and care for the outsiders, their respect for women, and their connection to non-Christians." The early church viewed their responsibility solely as caring for the community. Now, the question that we've posed today is, why do we go to church? And I want to give you the first reason. And I believe we go to church to serve the community around us. Now, the reason the church was booming was because they weren't just serving the community like normal. They were serving it in a counter-cultural way. Now, counter means something that's different, something that's opposite. So they were serving the community in a way that the community had never been served before. They were taking care of the widows and orphans, who in that time were like second-class citizens. They were following the model set by Jesus. And I want to have a little look at this model today, because I believe this was one of Jesus' most bold statements in service action that he ever made. So I'm just going to turn my Bible here to John 13. That's where it's found. And this is what it says. John 13, verse 4. "So he got up from the meal, took off his outer clothing, and wrapped a towel around his waist. After that, he poured water into a basin and began to wash his disciples' feet, drying them with the towel that was wrapped around him." Now, today we think of feet as a bit gross, but so what? We think, what's the issue? Now, I don't want you to miss this, because in the Greco-Roman time period, foot washing was basically only a servant's task. Now, so much so that the word foot washing and the word servant, they actually became synonyms. One literally meant the other. They were equal in meaning. So the story of Jesus Christ, the Messiah, who the disciples believed was going to be king and rule forever, he literally took on the identity of a slave, of a servant. The early church got this model of service off Jesus Christ from this story that we just read in John 13. Now, research shows that Generation Z, which is probably a lot of you looking at it, if Generation Z sees a church that isn't involved in the community, isn't meeting the community's needs, they simply write them off as hypocrites and they don't want to be involved at all. Now, I don't know if you've heard of a man named Mahatma Gandhi, but Mahatma Gandhi has a quote, and I'm going to read it for you, but he is a man that was famous for his social justice and his freedom. Now, he says, "I like your Christ. I do not like your Christians. Your Christians are so unlike your Christ." Now, as a Christian, that hurts. That statement digs deep into my heart. Have we lost our call to serve in a countercultural way like our Jesus Christ did? I think we need to rethink about how we're serving so that we can recapture this idea of countercultural service so that people like Mahatma Gandhi can't make statements like that about us again. So Jesus Christ served and washed people's feet and became a slave. He served in a countercultural way. And in the words of Jesus, I want to tell you to go and do likewise.